Hello, my name is Promise Odera Onu. Today we are going to continue our series of topics. Today we are looking at agriculture and waste management. I linked it together because I believe waste affects the agriculture production because of the ecosystem. Now, agriculture is very important, although we have sort of a way of looking at agriculture as a poor man's or poor people's business. Everybody wants to go to the city, do business, work in the offices, do white collar jobs, and they believe agriculture is meant for those in the village. Now, it will shock you to know there are countries that their main income or sources of income is agricultural produce. And we are going to discuss what should be the best practices when it comes to agriculture. How well are we doing in terms of agriculture? Like I said yesterday, that APC has boasted that Nigeria is now the highest rice producing nation in Africa. Now, the prices of rice or the price of bag of rice in Nigeria is still high. It's still much higher than what it used to be compared to the minimum wage, which is about 30,000. Even if you want to use your whole minimum wage, you can't even buy a bag of rice. And we know some families, which are usually large families, can finish a bag of rice very, very quickly. So we're going to look at what is the best practice. I keep saying this, and I'm going to say it again. We went on holiday in Portugal. So while we were in Portugal, the Uber man or the taxi guy was driving us. And I tried to ask him, I said, Portugal is so fine. What is the main natural resources that they have? And he said they don't have anything. I said, okay, what is their biggest export? And he said it's purely wines. They have a lot of grapes and they have a lot of they have hot weather in Portugal. So they have good weather. So they grow a lot of grapes, and from grapes they make wines. All right. So we are looking at countries who depend solely on agriculture, and they are, well developed countries, well developed. There is steady power, good roads, everything, name it, and they have a lot of tourism. Okay, people come to their country because there is relatively peace and all of that. So looking at Nigeria, Nigeria has one of the best weather you can actually think of. Africa is blessed with good weather, that 7 degrees, during dry season. Some places even hotter. And this is why our principal, Mr. Peter Obi, has always said that states like Niger State in the north, in the northern part of Nigeria, can feed the whole Nigeria, if not the whole Africa, if harnessed properly. So we have that potential, but what is our government doing? And this is purely because they don't know what they are doing. We have all these ministries, we have all these theoretical, what do you call it, initiatives that are supposed to help farmers and everything. But first of all, the biggest issue we have with agriculture is security. Farmers are not encouraged. They have to pay taxes to go to farm. And there are other things that can attack farms, apart from, insurgency and all of that. I have a few friends who have gone into agriculture, whether it's rearing chickens or fishery or poultry or going into plantations. But you find out that a lot of them don't have success stories because agriculture is beyond just bringing money. It's beyond just investing. There's a whole lot that goes into agriculture. You need to know how to. You need to understand the ground. You need to get a ground that is good. You need to monitor it. You need to weed. You need to look at it very well. You need to water it. There's a lot that goes into agriculture. So a few people that I know that have gone into agriculture to make money, they've come out disappointed. It's hard to get some things as well that you need to grow crops, fertilizers and everything. The government have some initiative, depending on states where they sort of provide fertilizers for farmers, but it goes beyond all of that. So in the northern part, on some part of Nigeria, there's insurgency. Farmers have to pay taxes to all these tourist groups to be able to allow them to farm. and at the same time, give a huge amount of their crops when they harvest to these guys. Apart from that, there's an issue with access. Peter Obi said when he was governing Anambra State, that was one of the things he tackled when he did poverty mapping of Anambra State. So when we do poverty mapping of Nigeria, even though the Northerners have been in power for so long, the northern part of Nigeria is still one of the poorest in Nigeria, purely because there's no circulation of wealth and they've not actually done the needful, which is finding out what exactly is the problem, and treating it. And one of them being access to farms. You need to have good roads for farmers to be able to go there, to be able to go to farms. You need to have good roads. So of course, it will be cheaper for them to transport their produce from the farm to the market. So these are things that hamper agriculture. Now, a lot of people who are involved in agriculture, if you should do the profiling, you find out that a lot of them are mummies and daddies and old people in the villages. So we need to encourage young people going into agriculture. I know a lot of people go to university and study agriculture, but when they come out, they want to work in the cities. Everybody wants to live the city life. Now, we need to encourage agriculture. And as well as that, we need to have strategic implementation of regulations to sort of because what you eat is very important. So what you eat should be looked into. Even here in the UK, there's a lot of regulations. Supermarkets don't just go and sell whatever they like. Some of these places, some of these farms, there are bodies that go there to make sure that whatever they are selling, be it animals, be it meats, be it produces, are what is edible enough and they are of good quality. So that one is we need government regulations, and at the same time we need a lot of machineries. So if you want a country to depend on food or to depend on exports of food from a country or agricultural products, you need to do it in large scale, meaning just a few old people is not enough manpower. So you need a lot of ridges and cultivators and all these big machineries. So we have issue with capitals. We need to sort of create a scheme whereby those who want to go into farming and agriculture can go into on a big scale. Give them lands on a cheaper, or lease it. Actually, you can lease lands to intended or potential farmers, help them to grow. I mean, individuals cannot run business without government help. It's supposed to be a synergy between government and individuals or the private sector. So everybody has to put hands on deck to enable businesses to strive. And again, agriculture, like I was trying to explain earlier, it's not something that you just go into, invest money and expect it to work. There's so many things. I know one of my uncles that went into farming, planted a lot of watermelon. That same year, I don't know what bacteria attacked it, all of the watermelon came out all destroyed. Other guy has told me his plantation, all of that. I don't know what affects them. And that's why you go to university to study these things. So get a competent, qualified person to manage your farm for you. Make sure you do proper weeding to weed out, any grass or things that could attack your crops. And then do the needful. Water it if there is not enough water. Build ridges and all of that. So all these things needs to be done and taken seriously as well. So we need as a country to see agriculture, because one of the biggest needs of man is food. So if because everybody eats, right? So we should see it as something that, of course, food is perishable, so it needs to be consumed quicker. But at the same time, everybody eats every day, sometimes 3 times or more in a day. So food is something, if you go into, you're not going to make losses per se, but then you need to know how to do it, and you need to have the market for it. Usually those that look after the business side of agricultural produce are different from the producers. The producers do the work, produce, and then supermarkets sell, or come and take it from them and sell. So we need to sort of create a system whereby we create regulations, provide seeds to farmers, provide machineries, provide capitals in some instances, especially during the seasons where they do the planting, and then support them in any way any way we can, so that during harvest time, these people can now push the produces to the supermarket. And again, we have to make sure as well we control waste. And the reason why I want to touch on waste management as well is that when we have litters all over the country, you have plastic bottles, you have plastic, what do you call it, waterproof, right? When you chuck those things away on the streets and you throw, your trash can on the streets, when it rains, right, it sweeps everything to the ocean. And then fishes die because they can't, they get trapped in all this rubbish and everything. So we need to find a way to make sure our ecosystem, does not get destroyed by all this waste. So we need to find a way of incineration of all these dustbins and all this waste, or even recycle them. I have a water here. If I check if it is made from a recycled product, it usually will tell you 25% recycled material. 25%. So most plastic bottles here in this country, in the UK, are made from recycled products. And what are recycled products? If you go to the water, to the sea, or to the river, because that's where all these things end up, you scope them out with a net or whatever, or you get to a particular junction, the water will be rushing through. Set something like a filter rod there, so when the water is going through, it can hold back all the plastic, take all these plastics away. And when you get this plastic, you can melt them, and from that melt, I know a friend that uses waste from plastic waste, that they use it to create this rubber that they use in construction sites when they want to pour concrete. So they use it to produce that rubber thing to pour concrete on, if they're concreting a decking, for example. So these things should be done on a larger scale, so we can use these waste products as raw materials for other stuff. And in places like America, they are so advanced that they use waste to generate even energy, right? They use waste to generate energy and all the rest. So we need to find a way to make a conscious effort. These things are not going to be easy, but we need to make a conscious effort to do what? To help our country to get rid of waste, and at the same time, grow our agriculture. We need to encourage our agriculture, make sure they are safe, farmers are safe, and also go into partnership with them. Know that they cannot, have all these machineries themselves. Another thing with machinery is that once you have machinery, normally it will break down. So we need to make mechanics available, and also consciously provide lands for them. Massive lands, not just people farming on their ancestral lands or their own lands that they bought for themselves. We need to do it on a large scale as a business, just like what Obasanjo have, like Obasanjo's farm. Two-Face also have a farm. So we need to go into more of these businesses. And what we also know is that some people who have done these businesses don't usually make profit, so they get discouraged easily. So it is something that if you are going into, you go into with passion, and especially if you have studied it in university, if you actually have a clue about how to farm, about how to produce crops, because there's so many things that normal person, like personally, I didn't grow up in the village, so I don't even know leaves. I don't know if I see a cassava or a yam, or I don't know anything. I don't know how to even weed. I remember when my auntie told me I went on holidays in my auntie's side, and we went farming. I was rooting everything out because I can't tell which one is pepper, which one is tomato, which one is weed. So, but there are people who grow up in the village who know these things, who know how these things grow. And then there are cash crops, and there are the other crops that are food crops. So we need to look at cash crops. Those things that take years to build. We have to plant. Especially government needs to start planting all these things, coconuts, all these fruits that take years to come up, palm fruit and all the rest. So agriculture can also be a big source of income, not just rice. Back in the day, during colonial days, all they needed slaves for was sugarcane plantation. Sugarcane, of course, these days is not much. People don't, of course, they don't use all those manpower anymore. So they use machineries. So government need to look into agriculture, because food is extremely important. And again, we need to look at waste management. There's a lot of litter everywhere. There should be laws in place to make sure that you don't litter anywhere. Here in the UK, you don't just go on the road and throw and throw your plastic or throw your trash. No, you leave it in your car. When you get home or when you want to wash it, you collect it together and dispose it properly. And again, we have two types of bins. We have the food waste and then we have the recyclable waste. So when you drink something like this, you know you're going to put it in the recyclable. So it is quite important we get these things right. And everybody, this is the part of the sector where you need the working together of not just government but the people as well. So everybody needs to, all hands needs to be on deck. And this is something that you can only achieve when there is a good society, when the society know that the government are doing what they need to do or the right thing, based on the constitution, and the government, are held accountable and they are, doing what they are supposed to do. They are responsible enough. So the people then can say, okay, let's do our own side. Agriculture is not something that governor is going to come and do himself. No. So, but they need to work together in tandem with, people. And, doing that, first of all, we provide food for our own self. Everybody can eat. Things will become very cheap, if you want to. And Africa or Nigeria is blessed with so many foods. If you want odara, if you want mango, if you want, anything grows there because you have fertile soil and everything. But we need to go into this in large scale, and we need to do it, for exports as well, not just for us to consume, but for exports. So, I hope if you share this video, like it, comment, share it, and if you have any topic you want me to discuss, you can raise it. I'm welcoming ideas, and the most important thing is to see if we can get this across to our leaders. You can empower youths, especially people who are graduated from those courses in university, those who have studied agriculture and everything, or ecology or whatever. You need to get involved with these people, empower them, tell them these are the lands, these are the farms, give them machineries, invest in them, so that we can all build a society that we can all have enough abundance of food, and then have even more to export. And you find out that everybody, it can give employment. We have a high rate of unemployment. As well as giving employment, it can produce a lot of food for everybody, and at the same time we can produce even cash as well, in terms of cash crops. There are countries that all they do is cocoa. Cocoa, you have Ghana there, you have other countries, and now they are saying, we're not going to be sending you the raw cocoa. We want to be the ones, making the chocolates. You come and buy the chocolate from us. And so many countries are making so much money from all these minerals that are being taken from Africa. So we need to start looking at ourselves and say, what is the technology between making cocoa to become coffee, or to become chocolate? Looking at all these things and telling ourselves, why don't we do these things ourselves? There's so many different cash crops, there's so many different foods, there's so many things, even things like fishery, things like poultry. All of these things come under agriculture. They come under agro-business. It's called agro-business now. So we need to go into agro-business and grow the business. We need to run our microfinance banks. Governments should bring out policies to be able to give banks microfinance licenses, even if you have to sort of guarantee these kind of monies to go to our young people. Let them have some level of vetting. But then when they look reasonable enough, fund them to go into these businesses, and that way you'll be empowering the young people, and that way we can get our young people to be, to use their initiative and skills and youthfulness and empowerment to go into these businesses. There's so many things in agriculture that can, help feed the nation and help us to raise more money from, from the sales of these products, and at the same time, making sure there is food in abundance. Because we have about 200 million people to feed, and it's not just the rearing of cow and chicken and everything. There's so many other things that needs to be done. And at the same time, our waste management is key. We should have a system of recycling our waste. Government needs to provide these things. They need to provide a way of recycling. There's so many countries we can learn lessons from and see how they manage their waste, and that way we can meet up with the with what other people are doing and be able to do the same. So everybody needs to put all hands needs to be on deck on this particular issue for us to get to where we need to be. Because the honest truth is that it's been far too long that we've been wishing for these things, but we're not getting it. So it's time for all of us to come on board and then get these things done for the benefit of all of us and our children. I'm going to stop here. I'm trying to keep these videos very short. Please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you have any topic, you can comment or send me DM, and we can discuss it together. I hope this has been educative. Please share your opinion as well. And thank you very much. My name is Promise. Thank you and bye.